This is where I filmed my first YouTube video, High Schooler Explains Secularism, only it was filmed more like this because I didn't have any kind of a good camera, and so I had to put it like right next to this wall. Now of course I have a nice DSLR camera with tele mic, of course. A lot of stuff has changed over the past over 3 years, but some things never change. Let's take a walk. So once again, geez, I love how this camera looks. Washington County, Florida, has decided, get the focus right. Still used to adjusting that. I'm not used to the shallow depth of field from my old, very low-cost camcorder. But anyway, Washington County has decided to put up a nativity scene at City Hall. And they did this 3 years ago, December in 2013. I made a video about it for school, which I put up on YouTube as my first video. And I must have been a senior in high school back then. And now I'm an undergrad in college, and they're still doing the same thing. And they got in trouble for it back then. Here's the thing, I don't want my country to become the Christian version of Saudi Arabia. So why is something like separation of church and state, why do I argue that that is a slippery slope but not something like gay marriage? Well, it's because being gay is completely different from wanting to have sex with animals. It's completely different. They're not related. Secularism is a principle that should be applied in all cases, just like I think if you are working in a department where you have to give out marriage licenses, then you should, if you want to work there, you're going to have to give out those marriage licenses. It's in principle. If you don't want to do that, then you don't have to work there. There is a difference between the public and the private sector. You can have whatever opinions you want. You can express whatever you want in the private sector. If you want to be against gay marriage, you want to post about it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, or just talk about it in regular life, you can do that. Okay, but you can't deny someone the right to get married because of that. You either have to quit that job or get a new religion. Get a new religion or get a new job. With secularism, you can totally preach Christianity, you can preach Islam, you can preach Pastafarianism, you can preach Satanism, you can preach all of that. But I don't want any of those religions in the public sector. The only real reason that I enjoy seeing Pastafarian or Satanist monuments in the public sector is that they make a statement about separation of church and state. If you don't want a Pastafarian if you don't want a Pastafarian display up, at City Hall, then you're for separation of church and state. If you're against a Satanist display, and I kind of view that as a good cop, bad cop thing, the Pastafarians and the Satanists, because the Satanists will probably get people more riled up, whereas the Pastafarians, it's a religion, but it's more lighthearted than something like Satanism. And if you want to be a Satanist, that's cool. But I enjoy how both of those religions make statements about separation of church and state. Now, to discuss the details. This may actually be legal. The way that it would be legal is if a private organization funded this and asked for this or a private individual asked for this to be put up on the City Hall property. Now I'll leave it to you to decide whether that is okay or not, whether that's a violation of separation of church and state. If it is not the case, if the people in government just decided we're going to do this, then it is totally not legal, and there should definitely be some kind of repercussions for that, because they can't keep doing this. I don't know if they did it in 2014 or 15, probably, but I can't say for sure. But they can't keep, they can't keep doing this. You've got to get they just don't understand what this is supposed to mean. You can't promote religion in the public sector. That is dangerous. If you are against Islam being in the public sector, if you are against a country like Saudi Arabia, I don't want to see, these incrementalists try to put more and more of this in the public sector. So if the government did it just unto themselves, then it is totally illegal. There should be some repercussions for that. But if a private organization or individual funded it, then technically it would be legal. But guess what? That means that it's fair game for any other religion, including Satanism, including Pastafarianism, I would say including non-religion, including a secular display or an atheist display. All of those are fair game to be put up on that property. I've contacted American Atheists about it, and I've contacted Freedom from Religion Foundation, and American Atheist is willing to provide the funds for a display. Now, the nativity scene has actually been taken down now, since it's after Christmas. I don't know why they had it up so long after Christmas, but they did. My goal is not to hurt anyone's feelings, but I do think that Pastafarianism, Satanism, putting up an atheist display, putting up a secular display, sends a very clear message. Because, I'm going to paraphrase David Silverman in his book Fighting God, which is a very good book. I met him at one of his lectures in Tallahassee. He was a really cool guy. He says something like, nobody sees something like that up on public property and doesn't see that as an endorsement of Christianity. But if you put up an atheist display or something like that, then, Pastafarian, Satanist, whatever, then suddenly it can't just be seen as an endorsement of Christianity. It's, it's seen as there's a diverse amount of people. And some people say, well, this is a small town. Why are you attacking a small town? I'm not attacking anyone. Just because this is a rural area, just because it's a small town, it doesn't mean that they get to be above the law. I mean, it's the first line of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. If you are a patriot, if you are, you love America, then this should be one of the main things that you are for. It's representative of the entire community. And even if there's just one person, there are thousands of people who live in these counties, which is not much, but it's still thousands of people. It's still, I'm sure there are people with varying different beliefs, both on secularism and on religion in general. Even if there was just one person, it would be wrong. Or even if there are no people, I still, out of principle, don't want to live under religious law. There are many religious people, by the way, who support secularism. This country, it's not just yours. It's not a Christian country. And that really eggs me when people pretend that when Christians are only somewhere around 70%, I'm sure it's more in the South, of America, that, that this is their country. But it's not. There are a lot of different people here who are different religions than Christianity. People who are non-religious. Non-religious people are going on a quarter of the country now. You can't just dismiss them just because they're in the minority. The public sector is supposed to be representative of everyone. And so it only seems ethical to me that the government should not promote or disparage religion. I don't understand how people can be this, this uninformed on the issue, because these people clearly don't understand the argument. So many of them don't, that I see, commenting about it. They think that we're just a bunch of atheists who get mad at religion. Well, I do get mad at religion, but in the private sector, that's your thing. Go to whatever church or mosque or whatever. It's perfectly fine. But you just can't push it into government, because then you're having an effect, a tangible effect on the people around you. I don't want your religion representing me, and I don't want my taxes going to that. If you claim to be ultra-patriotic, then you should support secularism. That's a classic American value. And if you claim to be principled, then you should oppose infringements on the separation of church and state in all forms. This is not one group against another. This is what I want for all of us. This is really the best solution for all of us, is for the government to be neutral regarding religion. So if you are a Christian and you say, I want to support secularism, I embrace you with open arms. If you are any religion or non-religious and you support this, I embrace you. And it's getting rather dark, so I'm going to be going now. I hope the message came through.